Thank you for joining us. Today, we're speaking with the former Federal CIO, Jason Gray, now at Box, who brings decades of public sector leadership and firsthand experience modernizing government IT. And with that, welcome, Jason. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I think let's just start by hearing about your impressive background in the federal government.
Okay, well, most recently, I was the CIO at the U.S. Agency for International Development. And prior to that, I was at the U.S. Department of Education as their CIO for a little over 6 years. And before that, I was at the Department of Transportation as an associate CIO managing their IT portfolio. Before that, the VA, and before that, DoD.
Wow, it's quite a long time. Thank you for your public service. So what brought you to Box?
Yeah, so I was really at a crossroads, if you will. I know a lot of change going on. Had to decide what I was going to do. Was offered a role in another agency, at the State Department, and a couple other agencies. But as I described for my career, it was really successive, building on first with defense, then the VA, then transportation, education, USAID, and I felt it was a natural fit to bringing my experience from all of these agencies individually to being able to impact all of government, not just one agency. So I felt like it was a better use of my time that I've been really focusing my entire career on. So that was why.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, we're so happy to have you. So while you were federal CIO, or in your many roles as federal CIO, what challenges were you facing that are really top of mind for you, having left the government recently?
Yeah. So I feel like as a CIO, there's a lot of churn that happens, a lot of change, um, budget constraints, resource constraints, trying to do more with less. Are really like key top of mind. You're never going to get as much money as you need, or have as many staff as you need, or as much time as you need to get done, and it's constantly changing. So I feel like those are the challenges, and the way the budgeting cycle works for government is usually it's a couple of years in advance. So you're trying to guess what you're going to need, usually many, many months before you actually know.
Hmm. Some of the things that we've talked about in the past are, the kind of overhead potentially, right, of managing different tools, the funding for each, solution that you need, right?
Yeah, so the overhead is something I've spoken a lot about, is the administrative overhead associated with the different projects or programs that you have, because there's a lot of rules and laws and compliance activities that you have to do, which makes it really challenging because if you have a bunch of different capabilities or different tools, you have to make sure that you have the right resources to not only perform the task or mission or whatever the tool is going to provide, but also do the appropriate compliance-related activities, acquisition-related activities associated with those as well.
Sure. And all the while balancing, the missions of the agency, right, as kind of the North Star as well.
Yeah, I feel, again, an amazing team is really helps a lot. But I will say, just speaking about like USAID as an example, more than 80 countries around the world, it's a lot of different moving pieces, a lot of different compliance-related activities that need to happen. And thinking about every mission out there, it was really, that administrative overhead really adds up over time because it's a lot of different people that are required, and funding and time to required to manage it all.
Sure, and I would imagine different needs as well, right, for each project, each country, each
Yes.
project within each location.
Yes.
Yeah.
Different laws, different rules, operating in countries. It's, again, as a federal government, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's simpler because you have one set of rules. But operating in numerous countries, it created quite the challenge.
So you're 4 weeks in. So based on that time that you've been here, and what you've seen of Box and the Box product, and of course we have a lot of AI capabilities that we're really excited to share. What really strikes you as being some of the most impactful ways that you might have been able to use some of the tools at your prior roles?
Yeah, I will say, I mean, hindsight's always 20/20. But when I think about coming from USAID, one of the ways that we were looking at leveraging AI was for translation services. As I'd mentioned, more than 80 countries, it's a lot of different languages, and leveraging AI to do very rapid translation services for things like global health, humanitarian assistance, and just uh, overall communications was really, really key. And I will say it wasn't always easy. It was a challenge. And that's one thing I really have enjoyed about learning more about Box is, multiple LLMs and the ability to translate much larger file sizes would have been really, really helpful. Um, so that's one area that I feel like would have been really, really helpful. Another area is I think about just correspondence tracking and management. I know the last few agencies I've been at, that was an area that we spent a lot of time doing pilot projects for, which again goes back to additional funding, additional time, additional resources that could have been consolidated and removed the administrative overhead associated with that. Even like responding to congressionals. Those are things that, one, you have to respond to because you need to make sure that Congress is aware of what you're doing and you're addressing their questions. But having a capability that could easily manage all of that and track all of that would have been really, really helpful. I know just in the last couple of years, we've done several pilots for that. And now that I've learned more about Box capabilities, it would have been made my life much easier. It would have been a really good solution for what we were trying to do.
Yeah, because my understanding is it's quite tedious, of course, right? And very, just very meticulous. There's not a lot of room for questions of what was said or not said, or what was shared or not shared, right? So it's important to have that source of truth, right, for these
Yeah,
things.
that would have been really. I'm just thinking about certainly the last couple years of congressionals received. Being able, you're right. Sometimes they will come in and they're asking, "What about this specific topic?" And you have to look across your entire enterprise. And having a box as a solution would have helped a lot instead of trying to figure out how to weave and look across numerous platforms, numerous formats. It created a massive amount of work. It was very tedious. And then, of course, the follow-ups or questions for the record that happen if you have a hearing, or things even beyond Congress, like GAO or the IG asking you for very specific, what about this? Or we're trying to do discovery, or even FOIAs. Lots of different questions come in, and you need to make sure that you're doing your best to look across the entire enterprise to get the answers. And then when I think about Box, I think about the tracking of where did this information come from an authoritative source standpoint, because oftentimes you will answer a question and there will be a follow-up. Okay, well, where did this come from? And sometimes it'll be, hey, the number we have is different than the number you gave us. Where did that come from? So having the ability to, in one platform, find the answers, but also reference the answers, not only for the information you're providing, but when you get the follow-up questions. GAO is really good at this. They'll do a study, they'll ask you a series of questions, and then a few years later, they'll ask you to follow up. And having a capability like Box would have made it much easier to be able to not only answer the questions, but when you get asked the follow-up a few years later to know, oh, yes, this is what we said, and here's the progress that was made as it relates to that question.
Sure. What about like the clearance process?
Yeah, so that the vetting process specifically when we're doing hiring and actions to bring people on board to an agency um, is it takes a lot of time. Every hiring process at agencies, I don't want to say are unique, but there's a vetting process that has to happen. And when that happens, sometimes, people will go back and forth and say, "Oh, we're waiting on this," meaning we're waiting on HR, or we're waiting on security, or we're waiting on the applicant. And I feel like with Box, from a capability standpoint, it would be nice to see very specifically where this is. Inevitably, something I've seen a lot of is The reality is they're waiting on the applicant to finish populating some form. And in some cases, the forms and processes are new to people who haven't worked in the federal space before. So they may have inadvertently left something out or not submitted something. And having a capability that could automatically trigger and flag to let the applicant know, oh, by the way, you need to fill this out. I just think about even being at Box a short amount of time, the amount of situations where I've been reminded, don't forget to do this training, or don't forget to do this, or don't forget to submit this. I feel like that would be really, really helpful and reduce the time to hire, because instead of one piece of the organization thinking that they're waiting on one thing, everyone would know in a centralized place what they're waiting on, who they're waiting on, how long they've been waiting, and where it's at in the process.
Yeah, and something that comes to mind is when applicants, for example, your example, submit maybe their application, Box can kind of review that application for missing information right away and kind of, like you said, like ping it back to the applicant, or at least notify internally, right, that that piece of information is missing so that there isn't a question, right? So,
Yeah, I will say, back to your earlier question about how Box could be utilized, I think about my time at the Department of Education, which has a grant component where we would issue grants and give grants out. And part of that process is reviewing how institutions are actually performing as it relates to that grant. And having an AI solution that could automatically read through the submissions of uh, are they actually doing what they said they're going to do? And more importantly, looking across similar types of grants to see and look for opportunities to scale solutions that are working really well. It's a very manual process, and having an automated process that could look across that would be really, really helpful. Even at USAID, having uh, seeing how a mission is performing in one sector, and I'll just use agriculture as an example, and being able to look cross-sectionally across the globe for similar solutions that were being developed would have been really, really helpful, because then we could scale things that work really well for certain climates or environments. Um, and AI could have empowered all of that.
so what it comes down to is querying just a lot of information for similar characteristics, right? And that would take someone a lot of time to sift through, or even just the institutional knowledge, right? That um, an employee might need to have to just know about that, instead of being able to maybe just query for the information that they're looking for and really get it within seconds, right?
Yeah, that was something we were also exploring AI for, is the country plans as an example. And we had decades, like 4 decades worth of data, a lot of it unstructured data. And it was, how do we look through that to look for opportunities to leverage things that are working in one location versus another. And leveraging AI was something we were like heavily looking at um, to improve the way that the agency performed.
Sure. And I'm glad that you mentioned AI there, because I know there might be some folks who are a little bit leery, right, about implementing AI for many reasons at their agency. And so I'm wondering if you would have advice, or best practices, perhaps, that you would want to extend to those listening.
Yeah, I will say, it's only been 4 weeks, but one thing I've really enjoyed about being at Box uh, is how AI is expected to be used in what is done. So it's interesting because on the federal side, it would be like, did you use this AI capability to do this? Almost as a negative thing, as in, well, why would you do that? Where even the language that is used here, I really enjoy, even when it's not specifically talking about AI. For example, oh, here's the prompts for this, which is referencing questions, but using it as a way to show that it's welcome, and not just welcome, but expected. It enables the product to have higher quality. It makes sure it enables you to operate faster, and in my view, produce just a holistically better solution. Again, with references and resources to validate and make sure that you don't have hallucinations, and that you can validate what you're saying. So it's been neat to see to come from an environment that is not that is leery of it, because you have to be careful. Um, we have, at least in the last few years, focused a lot on that AI informs and the people decide, humans decide. And I feel like it's neat coming to a company that is really embracing AI on how to use this responsible, secure, and safe AI.
Sure. Yeah, and I concur, right? I think working at Box has really helped to level up my own AI readiness. And I think to your point, there's a lot of emphasis on using our own product a lot, internally. And starting with kind of the AI capabilities that we have as maybe the starting point for a project, but of course being the person who is looking through the results, making sure that it's accurate, which usually it is, but or making sure that it doesn't have, making sure it's just as you'd like it to be, as you said, as kind of the person in the loop, right? So yeah, it resonates with me as well, that we really kind of are using our own, product and drinking our
Yeah.
own Kool-Aid, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to giving advice of for government agencies thinking about leveraging AI, I wonder how you would, if we could dig into just a little bit more on that kind of person in the loop experience, right? And how to maybe implement that at scale, which probably is a bit of a challenge.
There's a lot of capabilities out there. The thing, again, a key component of Box is the FedRAMP High, meaning it's authorized, it's trusted. Um, your data is not going to be training a model that other people have access to. I feel like, one, that's a key point for me because that process itself takes a bit to get through. Um, and then starting, I feel like training in embracing AI and how AI is leveraged, as we were just talking about, Box not only embraces it, but it expects that it is embraced. And I feel that's a challenge in the federal space. One, there's a lot of requirements, but again, when I look at Box and you have the auditability, the audit trails of who said what to when, everything is contained in this platform, that I feel gives it a competitive advantage because it's not dependent on uh, several capabilities from several solutions. It's all housed in one location where you can see that. That's one piece. Another piece that I think would be really advantageous is I'm thinking about the last few years of my life, maybe the last 6 years, where I'm looking for different capabilities and having to purchase or pilot or do proofs of concepts on multiple capabilities. For example, phishing resistant multi-factor authentication is one example. I think about correspondence tracking and management. I think about workflow and automation. I think about doing like e-discovery for different situations when you're looking through something. And this is where I would encourage agencies to look for solutions that can meet multiple requirements with one solution so that instead of having to use that administrative overhead to have a PM or a project manager for 3 or 4 different capabilities or to pilot 4 or 5 different capabilities for different solutions. There's also capital planning, investment control processes that the federal government requires that instead of having multiple solutions to deliver multiple capabilities, you can have one solution that can deliver multiple capabilities, all housed in one safe, secure, FedRAMP authorized process and platform. So that would be something from an adoption standpoint that I did not know about before. And I'm looking back and thinking, oh my goodness, this could have helped from a time to deliver. Because as a CIO, I had numerous customers that were asking me, hey, I need the solution. Hey, I need the solution. And I wish I would have known at the time that here's a solution that can meet these 4 solutions that I'm separately trying to pilot to find a solution, then piecemealing it all together. So I feel like it's really neat to see a capability that incorporates numerous challenges and requirements that the federal space has all in one platform.
Yeah, and one thing that sticks in my mind as well, and I think you touched on it earlier, is the fact that the Box product really, we have access, we being users of Box have access to many different LLMs, right? Large language
Yeah.
models. So it reduces the need to kind of have a license with each provider. And I know that that we really strive to make those new, and anytime that those are updated, they're generally available in the product very, 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 very fast. Which is just, again, that's another way that I personally have leveled up my own AI readiness, but not to mention the productivity gains from that, and being able to maybe choose the LLM that works best for your specific use case. It's another one of those things that saves time, it saves money, and not having to kind of have those separate licenses with each provider as well.
Yeah, that is one thing I've also enjoyed learning more about the platform is being able to select different LLMs for different use cases. Where I need to do a presentation, maybe this LLM is better at putting that presentation together, or I need to do talking points for something, or I need to prepare a speech using one LLM versus another. It's great to have options all housed within the same platform.
Sure. So you recently attended the onboarding process as a new employee of Box, right? Learning the product, et cetera. Are there any, features or tools that stick out to you that you would, you're really excited to kind of share with our federal audience?
Yeah, I would say listening to the keynote at BoxWorks, I was thinking about uh, cybersecurity and threat intelligence, and I was thinking about the massive amount of logs that there's tools that are sifting through and looking through, and a lot of that is based on thresholds. And being able to leverage AI, specifically Box Shield Pro, was very interesting to me because I think about just the amount of vectors and surface area that you have. And then as a federal CIO, you're entrusted to secure and protect and defend citizen data. And having a solution that could look through um, massive amounts of logs and provide threat intelligence that would allow you to focus in and hone on areas. Most of the time, when you have some sort of breach or something, usually there are telltale signs of it. There's logs that you just missed because they're in an ocean of other logs. And this is where I was really excited when I was learning about Box Shield Pro and the AI capabilities of being able to leverage AI specifically for cybersecurity related activities was really exciting because oftentimes it'll be a vulnerability that you thought you patched. You've got notification that you did, and having that extra layer of um, resources looking at it would have been really, really helpful. So I was really excited to hear about that.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially with some of the pressures on, the federal government agencies now with resources, resource constraints, et cetera, right? It's kind of finding those opportunities for reducing the amount of just manual steps that it might take to uncover really, really important information like that, right?
Yeah, I again, not too long ago, I would be getting briefings every 2 weeks on here's the number of threats that or hits or attacks the agency received, which were in the millions. It's not a small number, and having to sift through that and depend on tools to tell you what's a threat, what's really a threat, what's a false positive, and being able to leverage AI to help ensure that you're again securing, protecting, detecting when something nefarious is going on. I think is going to be massively advantageous to the federal space.
Yeah, definitely. So, at a time where the federal government is facing a lot of resource constraints, I'm wondering if there are, you know, things that stick out to you onboarding at Box that might, have been able to help at either your prior agencies or just for those, still kind of facing these challenges every day.
I feel like the ability to leverage AI to deliver on mission when you are in a situation where you do have constraints for resources. We know that there's a large focus on making sure that we're doing more with less and leveraging AI to its fullest. this is where I see a lot of opportunity there because there's a lot of change going on in government right now. And AI gives the opportunity to have multiple agents, if you will, that are focused on delivering and performing routine work that would normally take a lot of hours to be done. So I feel like the efficiency of government will be improved as it gets more comfortable with being able to leverage AI to do routine tasks. As I was mentioning earlier about reviewing uh, vetting information, reviewing applications, reviewing grants follow ups, reviewing standard reporting, um, reviewing cybersecurity logs. I feel like leveraging AI to intelligently look through massive amounts of data is going to help improve and minimize the impact from a constraint standpoint. Not perfect. Not there's always going to need to be a person who will be reviewing and validating. But I do believe the AI is going to enable. We already see it. Agencies to move faster, to analyze more with less human interaction, more intelligent uh, processes and tools and LLMs to make sure that agencies are being are detecting and protecting agency data through AI.
Sure. Yeah, and it's an assist, right?
Yeah,
At a minimum. And I think, that's what I love about Box too, is that it's, the AI readiness of the product is there's so many different levels, right? It's whether we have something for you if you're just dabbling, or if you're more interested in using AI, like maybe building, agents and beyond. And so I think it'll be really impactful for the federal government, as they really strive to do more with less, or do more with the amount of folks that they have today. Thank you so much, Jason, for chatting with me today. It's been such a pleasure, and so excited to see what we can work on together in the future. And we're just so happy to have you here at Box.
thank you. I'm happy to be here.
As we touched on, modernization isn't just about saving time. It improves the applicants, the residents, citizens' experience, empowers staff, and delivers services with greater speed, transparency, and trust. If you're exploring ways to cut manual work, remove bottlenecks, or scale digital services across your agency, we'd welcome the chance to continue the conversation. As a closing note, I'd like to call out our agreement under GSA's OneGov program, which aims to streamline acquisition and provide standardized pricing for all U.S. federal agencies for Box's intelligent content management platform until August 2026. We'd love to discuss this exciting opportunity more in depth with you, so please reach out to learn more. Thank you again for the important work that you do and for spending time with us today.